News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Eyewitness News, coming to you from our studios here in Accra. My name is Salom Adunu. Tonight I'm here with
Akosia Oche.
Coming up over the next 90 minutes.
Parliamentarians who are to be loyal to Parliament rather than to the Supreme Court run to a Supreme Court at the slightest opportunity to use the Supreme Court to undermine Parliament.
Right Honorable Abang Babin speaks for the first time since adjourning Parliament Sinidai. He accuses the President and Judiciary of sinning against the Constitution while he prepares to recall Parliament tomorrow. On whether or not it is too late to employ dialogue and other non-judicial means to resolve the current impasse in Parliament, this was his response.
So it's too late to say that you are sorry. After you broken man for her.
So the minority in Parliament, or the NDC side of the House, insist they are the new majority.
We shall take our rightful place in the chamber as to where we sit and wait for whatever businesses that may come in front of us.
Also coming up on Eyewitness News, the Electoral Commission presents final voters register to political parties 30 days to the December polls, but the NDC has concerns. We'll tell you more later on Eyewitness News. Donald Trump elected 47th President of the United States. What is the implication for the rest of the world? Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and other stories on Eyewitness News and in business.
Business community rules out stifled business interest following Donald Trump's re-election as U.S. president.
There is more business in the next 50 minutes. Eyewitness News is live across the country on all our affiliates and around the globe at citynewsroom.com. Your comments are welcome via WhatsApp line 0549 986 996. You can follow me on X at Selom Adunu. The hashtag, as always, is City Newsroom. Akosia gives us our first story.
Well, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has accused the judiciary and executive branches of colluding to undermine the authority of the legislature. Well, this follows a Supreme Court ruling dismissing his application to reverse an earlier decision that prevented him from declaring 4 parliamentary seats vacant. While addressing journalists, Speaker Bagbin asserted that no individual or institution would be allowed to interfere with parliamentary proceedings to compromise the independence of Parliament.
Despite these provisions, the courts are replete with debates and proceedings of Parliament. Most worrying is these proceedings are initiated by some members of Parliament, even leaders of Parliament, who ought to know better. Parliamentarians who are to be loyal to Parliament rather than to the Supreme Court run to a Supreme Court at the slightest opportunity to use the Supreme Court to undermine Parliament. This might be one of the reasons Parliament and members of Parliament are not respected and treated with disdain. This was exhibited by the President's refusal to even receive the LGBTQ plus bill, duly processed and passed by Parliament without any legal basis. The judiciary is supportive of this conduct by the receipt and processing of a suit on this subject matter. These are dangerous precedents of the President.
Well, that was the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin. Now, the NDC Parliamentary caucus says it will take its rightful place in the chamber on Thursday as the majority side of the House. This caucus says it is willing to avail itself as a majority caucus to assist the MPP in executing government business. Well, here is Chief Whip of the NDC caucus in Parliament, Gavins Kwame Abuja.
Tomorrow, as a result of the directive of Mr. Speaker, in line with the Constitution and standing orders, the majority NDC shall attend upon the House at appropriate time as directed by Mr. Speaker. We shall take our rightful place in the chamber as to where we sit and wait for whatever businesses that may come in front of us. Our advice to our colleagues in the minority NDP is to try and prioritize business that is in the interest of the people of this country, and they shall find favor and cooperation with us in trying to deal with those businesses. We can assure them that as long as the business is in the interest of improving the lot of Ghanaians, they can count on the majority NDC caucus in Parliament to support those initiatives to pass those things that would help the people of this.
That was Chief Whip of the NDC caucus in Parliament, Gavins Kwame Abuja.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. As you just heard, the Speaker of Parliament addressed the press today and raised a number of issues. Key amongst them is that he says that the executive and the judiciary are sinning against the Constitution and that their action, which he calls a form of collusion, is weakening the legislature. He also says that he has a mission to strengthen Parliament for future generations. He also said that he does not decide where MPs sit in Parliament. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll take a short break, return, and then we will do some more interviews on this matter. Okay, you know, we have we have the majority, the chief whip of the MPP side of the House, the deputy chief whip of the MPP side of the House, Habib Idrisu. He joins us on the line to help us appreciate what they think or make of the Speaker's comments today. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Did you listen to your Speaker today, and what do you make of some of the things he had to say for starters?
Yes, good evening to your listeners. I watched the Speaker briefing with the media in my office. Since we were not invited by the Speaker to the meeting, even though I could see that the minority leadership were there, whether they were invited or not, I'm not aware. But we in the majority side, the Speaker never informed us about this press briefing, and so that is that we watch him from the office. But listening to him, we could realize that majority of the questions that was critical for Ghanaians yearning to hear from him and to understand his position with regards to these issues virtually were unanswered. Majority of them he referred to the fact that if they were in court. The other one he said it was not his responsibility. Specifically with the sitting arrangement, he said it was a duty to do the sitting arrangement. With regards to matters that have to do with whether the 4 members of Parliament can come to the chamber or not based on Supreme Court ruling, he said the case is in court. So we know clearly in our mind that as we resume tomorrow, we are majority and we will be occupying the right-hand side of the Speaker tomorrow.
I see. You had your opposite number, the Honorable Agboja, who says that they will also occupy where the majority occupies, really, which is the right-hand side of the Speaker. So what are we expected to see tomorrow? What are we going to be seeing tomorrow? Are we going to see the chaos that we nearly saw on the last day of Parliament before it was adjourned sine die? Or this time around, you will mobilize your guys, your colleagues, and move out like you did the last time too?
You already know the position of the minority. This is not the first time they've always wanting to become majority. And majority, normally you get the numbers coming to Parliament. But their desperation to becoming majority is just so at the higher level But if the most important thing, that is where the speaker needed to settle the whole thing, to actually say that this is what is going to happen. But he said he didn't make orders after he made a comment on Arthur Forson statement, the minority leader statement. So if he hasn't made orders, which orders? The orders that the minority is now majority, as they are claiming. The orders that Dr. Arthur Forson is now majority leader. The orders what? So the orders means that he said he didn't make any orders. And then the speaker have already acknowledged the ruling of the speaker of the Supreme Court to stay his statement or his ruling. And then clearly, if he didn't acknowledge it, he won't go to file an application to actually set aside their own the Supreme Court ruling. So definitely the speaker acknowledged it, and the status quo remained that we are 138 in majority, and the NDC is 137. But what Kwame Abuja, the minority whip, is saying, we will not be involved in any drama. I can assure you and assure Ghanaians that MPP, we are law-abiding citizens, we are Democrats, we will not be involved in any revolutionary chanting, we won't be involved in any fighting. When we go tomorrow, and then the speaker cannot make it categorically clear that he never said that the NDC is majority, and for that matter, they cannot occupy the majority seat, and he's going to stay, bring dramas in there. We will not be part of it, and we'll advise ourselves accordingly.
I see. So what's your word to your colleagues who have gone independent? Have you told them to come to Parliament, or you've not told them anything?
I think we have passed that stage. When notice of pool have been done, people have filed at the Electoral Commission, and then they brought the notice of pool out. This is not a stage to do. They are members of Parliament, of this 8th Parliament. What they seek to do was to represent as independent candidates in the 9th Parliament, not this 8th Parliament. The nomination they have filed at the Electoral Commission is not to be independent members of Parliament in this 8th Parliament. It's to be independent members of Parliament in the 9th Parliament. So they are still members of Parliament of the 8th Parliament in the ticket of the New Patriotic Party, and none of them have come to leave the party. Neither has the party issued in a statement to say that they are no more our members, and for that matter, the status quo remain.
I see. Even though per your own party rules, they have forfeited their membership, but of course that's a different discussion. So what happens to business? I mean, are you able to marshal your numbers to Parliament? Because if the minority moves out, you may have issues with quorum to take decision, like we saw the last time. Have you thought about all of that?
It was we move out, and they don't have quorum to take a decision because they are 137. If they move out, we are 138, and we have the quorum to take a decision.
That's what I'm asking, whether you've marshaled all your you will be able to marshal all your persons, including the fact that a lot of your colleagues are in the constituencies campaigning, etc. Some of them have difficult elections to win, and you are able to call all of them to Parliament for the purposes of business and decision making.
The most important thing is that in this 8th Parliament, we've had these challenges and these numbers, and we've been able to pass every single government business that we've been able to do. And majority of all the votes that have happened in the House, we've always won. So definitely when we get there, we'll cross the bridge. The most important thing is that our caucus is 138, and if we have to take a certain decision, we have the numbers to take a decision.
So where do we go from here? I mean, a lot of us thought that given the period you've been home, you would use this to do some behind-the-scenes discussions and then have the issues resolved. The speaker said today that he has not heard from the majority, the MPP leadership in Parliament, and that was quite surprising to a number of people. Why haven't you approached the speaker like you've always done to address this, iron out your differences, and get Parliament working?
In fact, there are certain things that we cannot say on air because as one of the leaders in Parliament, the Speaker is well aware the discussions that went on at conclave before he adjourned the House in a day. We had a roadmap, we had discussions before the court ruling, and then after that he's supposed to reach out to us because he told us that certain things that he's supposed to do. And then he also appeared before the court, and then their application was denied. And for that matter, it was not left to us because he told us that for sanity to prevail, the House was going to be adjourned, Senate, for him to do certain A, B, C, D. So it is all left to us. And the minority have already taken an entrenched position when they read their press statement to the effect that they are majority and they will do everything to safeguard it. So since those entrenched positions were taken, it made cooperation to suffer among leadership engagement. It has made us trying to build consensus, collapsing. And then the fact that Speaker even reaching out to us too was a problem. And like I said, when you watch the press conference that he did, the minority NDC MPs were all in there, but none of the majority were there because we were not informed, because we were never invited to that. At least if Speaker wants to do briefing to that, Parliament is an institution of which leadership of Parliament is a greater part of the institution Parliament. The Speaker is not a member of Parliament. So if we are to do things of that nature, that border or member of Parliament, you need to have to reach out to us. At least if a letter is sent or a memo is sent to the majority caucus, and then for us to be able to know that Speaker is going to do a briefing and we are needed. But when you look there, you could see that the minority leader at Forson was there, the deputy minority leader, Amabua, the minority whip. They were all there. When you were watching from the TV, you could see that they were there, but none of us were there. I was seated in my office in Parliament because I was not invited to such a program.
I see. I also did not see them there. But if you saw them, that's fine. And I'm sure. Maybe I didn't look well. But that's fine.
I watched them through TV.
That's fine. No contest. No problem with that. But what do you make of some of the assertions he made that running to the Supreme Court every time there's an issue in Parliament weakens and undermines the legislature? What's your take on that?
No, but I don't think what the Speaker is saying is undermining the legislature. The whole contention was bordered on the interpretation of the Constitution in Article 97. The right forum to interpret the Constitution is where? The Supreme Court. So whatever we have been doing, guiding us in Parliament and doing a lot of things, we don't have a problem because it doesn't bother in interpretation. But when you are going to take a decision that is going to affect a lot of things in this country and in Parliament, definitely, and we know that it is a constitutional interpretation, we'll go to the right forum. Because the decision, the ruling down, he's saying is not a ruling, was to the effect that those people are not members of Parliament. And it means that another side was going to have more numbers than the other one. It means that committee chairs are supposed to change. It means that offices needed to be changed and so many things. And you sit down and say that it is something we shouldn't run to court. It is very important for us to be able to sit down and know that if we go to court, the Supreme Court haven't done the interpretation yet. If they interpret it to say that, yes, those members are not more members of Parliament, it is binding and we will obey. But if we think that these people are not seeking to remain in the East Parliament, in the case of Wayo Seni, it was a cross carpet. Okay, I'm no more a member of the NDC. I want to move to the MPP and cross the carpet and start with the MPP. It means that he wanted to remain in that party with a different political party rather than the one that elected him to Parliament. So that is where we had the problem. But at the moment, what happened, none of them have crossed carpet to go and sit somewhere and say, I'm an independent member of Parliament or I am joining MPP and to sit with them. So definitely the Speaker is very wrong. And I know now he has also agreed because it's not more in contention. Because when the Supreme Court says that his ruling should be stayed, he acknowledged it and also went back to the Supreme Court to set aside their own previous ruling on the stay, and which was denied. So the contention of whether they are majority or minority, and if the minority could listen to the Speaker very well in the press conference he did today, he made it categorically that after reading the statement, they should go and watch and see whether he made orders. The orders could be in the fact that when he said that he's informing us under Order 18, the fact that now these seats are vacant, he could move further to say that in view of what is the foregoing, it means that the NDC are now this number and the MPP are this number and the NDC is this majority or that. But he didn't move ahead. Even in the heat of the debate, he kept referring to our majority leader, Honorable Asanyo Markins, as the majority leader, and referring to Dr. Atuforsen as the minority leader, even after he finished reading his statement. It is just the fact that the NDC want to cause problems. They have tried several times to be able to bring problems. They are talking about voters auditing, which they did not have any evidence on any auditing. They didn't succeed on that. They talk about Galamsey thing, which they wanted to politicize it. They know
we're talking about Parliament.
They wanted to influence TUC.
We're talking about
they
Parliament.
Think that they are now coming to Parliament to be able to cause problem because we are just about 30 days to election. We will safeguard and protect the Constitution, and we will not allow anybody to pull us into anything that will undermine the Constitution.
Will you admit that the precedent set by Speaker Okwe is not creating problems for everybody now?
as a person, I have already said elsewhere that Speaker Michael Quay was wrong in its format, no matter how it is, even though he has come out to explain that in that circumstances, the New Patriotic Party had petitioned him that this our member have gone independent and we have taken a decision that he's no more a member, that he wrote a memo to the letter from the New Patriotic Party and sent it to the third member. The third member responded. So it means that there was a petitioner that was the New Patriotic Party. He has given the member in question the fundamental human right, the right to be heard, that he was also listening to. In this case, it's not like that. But no matter how it form it is, I don't still believe that Michael Quay was wrong. Professor Michael Quay was wrong with all due respect to him. I think he was wrong, and I think Speaker Baldwin too is wrong. And the right forum to be able to settle this score is the Supreme Court. And that's where we are, the right forum.
I see. Finally, before you go, I know Parliament will normally sit around 10 a.m. But given that sitting positions are at stake, what time are you getting to Parliament tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow we'll be in Parliament. Normally I go there early. I'll be in Parliament around 7, 8 o'clock thereabout. And then when Parliament we are about to sit, normally we have leadership meeting. For the fact that we are just in the and then we are resuming, leadership will meet with the Speaker at conclave to discuss and before we come into the chamber. And like I said, what I can assure Ghanaians and the public is that we, the New Patriotic Party and the Majority Caucus, we will not be involved in any violence, in any drama, in anything that will undermine the beauty and the democracy that we are enjoying.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Habib Idrisu, First Deputy Whip of the majority or the MPP side of the House. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM here on this Eyewitness News. Now let's speak to the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Draman. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Do you agree with the Speaker that the judiciary and the executive are colluding, or their actions smack of collusion to weaken the House?
Sorry, Salam, I didn't hear the question.
The Speaker said that the executive and the judiciary appear to be colluding, and that is weakening the House. Do you share that view?
Well, I mean, to some extent, I have concerns about, the too much interference by the courts in the work of Parliament, albeit sometimes at the instance of members of Parliament themselves. Because the whip that you just spoke to, Honorable Habib and his colleagues, we elected them to go and sit down and talk. And as politicians, they are supposed to talk, disagree, agree, or disagree and say, okay, I mean, this is where we all stand. I mean, even if we disagree, the business of our country has to continue. But what we have seen in this 8th Parliament is that at the least instance, people run to court. And honestly, that is not good for this and for future parliaments. Secondly, when the president refused to even accept, not to talk about even say I disagree with a bill that was passed by Parliament. I mean, some of us found that that was a low point in terms of, the executive not respecting the institution. And I think today I heard from the Speaker, I didn't even know. I thought the President could veto, but he said the Constitution, took away that power from the President. But we saw all that happen. And then, Salam, I think, to add to it, we also saw both the executive and the judiciary refusing to, discuss the disenfranchisement of
the people of South.
Yes, the people in South. I mean, that is a high crime. I mean, in this country, our parliament has not been properly constituted over the last 4 years. And, I mean, some of us thought that that's the role of the executive, that's the role of the judiciary. I mean, but nobody raised a finger in this country for almost 4 years now. So, if you put all these together, one cannot but, sympathize with the concerns that were raised by the Right Honorable Speaker. We want a parliament at all times, that can stand up to particularly the executive, because that's the role of parliament, but if you have a situation where currently, as we do have it, and as we have seen over the last many parliaments before now, instead of standing on three legs, our political and democratic arrangement, it's standing on 2.5 legs, and the half leg is parliament, because parliament is the weak one, amongst the three arms. And this, in the 8th Parliament, I think some of what we have seen in terms of the judiciary kind of, coming into the space of Parliament, I think we have seen that about 3-4 times already. That, I believe, has further, cast doubts in terms of whether, our separation of powers is truly alive and well.
I see, but of course, the separation of powers is not a watertight concept or doctrine. Undertaking really.
Indeed.
So maybe because we've seen how the various arms of government play together in some respect. For example, appointing ministers from Parliament. If it were a watertight system, you wouldn't have that happening, amongst many other things. So but what the Speaker says he doesn't decide or determine who sits where. All along, we heard from the NDC MPs, for example, that what the Speaker tells them is what they will do, because the Speaker is their leader. Now, the Speaker is saying he doesn't determine where people sit, and we just heard from the Honorable Agboja, who says that they are the majority. They will sit at the right-hand side of the Speaker. How do we navigate this?
Salam, I think the way to have navigated this, and I'm using the past tense because I think time has run out already. The way to have navigated this, I believe, would have maybe some kind of two-track approach. We had the legal, we heard from the court, and so on. But most importantly, I have said several times, this is a political problem, and it needs political tools. And those tools are, the tools of conversation, the tools of compromise, and bringing the two sides together. And then maybe eventually even getting the Speaker into that conversation. But we are hearing some conversations between the Council of State and the Speaker, as he said today, but we didn't hear conversations with the NDC side, with the MPP side. I think at the end of the day, if we sit down and think that, edits from the court would simply resolve this, I think we have heard this evening. Both sides are saying, they are majority. So what we should expect tomorrow is, I think we should all brace ourselves. And I am saying that it looks like we have run out of time, because when Speaker adjourned Parliament, when he did, I think we bought time as a country, and I thought that the time would have been used by our elders, at least to get these two sides, so that we are not in a civil war situation. These are matters that, when they sit down, I believe maybe several times conversation they can resolve. But I don't think that much of that has happened. If the comments we are hearing from both sides is anything to go by, and I think it's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate, because there were times when some of us were involved just to make sure that our Parliament, continues to run. It's the interest of the country that's important than any kind of the ego of any political group. And now the business of our country is going to suffer. Tomorrow, three things are likely to happen. Either we see, both sides sitting at the same place, as we saw the last time, or the second kind of scenario might be a walkout, and the third scenario might be some fight. That's how I see tomorrow happening, because You ask the Right Honorable Speaker, and he says, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, that's profound. One would have thought that maybe he would say, okay, based on the time that we had, some conversations have happened and so on and so forth. Now, I think we have some form of an agreement, and we believe that we can move forward as a country. But no. So tomorrow we are back to, what happened the Tuesday, I think two Tuesdays ago. And so wear your seatbelt, Salom.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Thanks so much for speaking to us. So, as you just heard him speak, Dr. Draman, he says that he feels time is run out. They've not been able to engage. When the same issue was put to the Speaker about whether, some non-judicial means or dialogue could be used to address the matter, he answered that question with this song.
So it's too late to say that you are sorry. After you broken my heart, when I needed you to satisfy my soul, you turn your back and said,
now I think we should add a singer to Mr. Speaker's because there's
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Hi, Aku. I just got the estimate for the home repairs. It's more than
Thank you. at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You're welcome back to Eyewitness News. This is your election bureau, 97.3 Citi FM. Now, the Electoral Commission has handed over to all political parties and independent presidential candidates contesting the December election the final certified voters register for the polls. The EC at the press conference today says the register is robust and clean for the election. Chairperson for the EC, Madam Jean Mensah, says the EC has fulfilled its promise to the parties.
At the meeting of IPAC on the 15th of October, we indicated that this presentation would be made to you at the end of the first week of November. However, with the help of God, we've been able to do that 2 days before the 8th, which signifies the end of the first week of November. Ladies and gentlemen, following the re-exhibition of the revised Provisional Voters Register, the Commission received a total of 158 issues from registered voters across the country. I'm pleased to note that all the issues have been resolved, and as we speak, we have no further issues regarding the final voters register for the 2024 general election. As you may recall, at that meeting, we provided the political parties with a template on which to report any issues they had with the revised provisional voters register. I'm again pleased to inform you and the good people of Ghana that no political party presented any issues regarding the register for resolution. I'm pleased to note that we now have a robust and credible final certified voters register, which is fit to deliver a credible, transparent, fair, peaceful, and glorious election come the 7th of December 2024. We could not have come this far without the help of God, and we like to thank the Almighty God for bringing us thus far. We certainly could not have made it without Him. On behalf of the Electoral Commission, I'd like to thank all our staff, our head office team, particularly the electoral services team, the IT teams, the administration teams, the HR teams, all our teams, the finance team. I see my head of finance looking at my face, so I have to mention him. As well as our regional directorates, our district officials and teams in the districts, and our field staff, namely our returning officers and their deputies, as well as our technicians. Your zeal and your hard work have contributed to the credible and robust final voters register we have today. I echo to all our teams here in the head office and nationwide. I'd like to also thank you as stakeholders, that is the political parties and representatives of presidential candidates for the 2024 election, as well as the good people of Ghana for believing in us. Your support, your help, your advice have contributed to the credible register that we have before us today. I use this opportunity to assure you of the Commission's commitment to conducting free, fair, transparent, glorious and peaceful elections come the 7th of December 2024, God being our helper. May God bless all of you. May God bless the political parties. May God bless the presidential candidates of the 2024 general election. May God bless the Electoral Commission of Ghana. And may God bless the 2024 elections and all the processes. And may God bless our homeland Ghana, our one and only nation. And I call it God's beloved nation, and make her great and strong. And now, in the exercise of my duty as chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, and in fulfillment of Regulation 27 of CI 91, as amended by CI 126, I hereby declare the 2024 final voters register as duly certified. It is finished.
So that's the Electoral Commission, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madam Jean Mensah. As you heard, she says the register is robust and very clean for the election. All the political parties were represented at that meeting. Of course, the media was also in attendance. The NDC's Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, who is the deputy director for the NDC's election and IT department, was there, and he joins us on the line. Hello, good evening, Doc. Welcome to Eyewitness News.
Good evening, Salom. And let me say good evening to your cherished listeners.
Great. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission says that the register is clean, is robust, you're ready for election 2024. He says that there are no further issues with this register as we speak, or as was presented to you today. Is that the case with you?
That's not the case. Salom, as we speak now, we are still at issue. The meeting is at standstill as we speak now, because when she made all these statements, we raised an objection to a very critical component of the register. They brought a register with the statistics of the register. A half-baked register has been presented. They brought a register, they themselves didn't even know the statistics as we speak now. We raised objection to that. We asked them, what is the total registered voters that you are giving to us? What are the content of the register? The breakdown, the original breakdown, the various components of the register. They don't have it.
But that's in the register. So when you take it, you open it, you see it, or
you don't do that. You don't do that. There's normally the proper thing is that they give you statistics, and they will tell you what is the total registered voters that you have currently. You remember when they did our last IPAC meeting, and they gave it a provisional register. They ran us through the total registered voters, the number of males, the number of females, the number of proxies, and all that. Then the total polling stations that we are going to have. This is the total statistics before you talk of the register. They don't have it. After we have raised the objection and raised this, they were not telling us that we should go. They will post it on our platform for us. We said no, because the media were there. We want the media to listen so that we all be on the same pavement. You can't give us something behind us. You are giving a half-baked document.
No, but
that has arrested the meeting. Yes. And as of now, they've all run to their offices working on the document as we speak now. If they have it, by now they would have pulled it out.
Are you suggesting that the EC doesn't have the breakdown of the regions, etc., before giving you the register? Of course, they may have it, but they may not share it with you openly there because it's in the register. Are you suggesting that they don't have it at all?
Hello. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm speaking to you from 4:30 up till now. If they have it, how many minutes will it take them to print it out? I said we are sitting here. All the political, but we're all here. Media, ask your rep here whether they have come back to give us the document that we demanded from them. We're here. We are saying that we are not going out. We are not taking any register, any soft copy away without getting these statistics.
So is it just the NDC that says that they are not leaving until they have the breakdown, or all the parties are there waiting for the breakdown?
All the parties are here. We are all here. But what we have asked, everybody accepted it. That is the real thing. Do you take a document home without knowing the content of the document? You must give us a heads up of it. You must tell us the statistics there is. That's why the media is here. Now, if you ask your reporter, what is the total registered voters as they've stated in the certified register, can they mention it to you?
So, given that the commission chairperson says it is the final register. When you take this register home to go and look at it, and you have further issues with it, are you able to raise those issues again, and would there be an opportunity to correct them?
This is what was certified register. So
if there are mistakes in it, the mistakes cannot be corrected. Is that the point?
When they say certified register, that is the final register. Are you getting it? This is not a provisional one you go and amend again. And we are saying that, secondly, even the very regulation she mentioned, Regulation 27, why is it that she didn't read Regulation 27, 1, 2, 3? They sidestep it. There is a procedure for certifying the register. And we want them to come back. We are going to ask them that one too. You can just mention, I'm certifying Regulation 27. Have you certified the process, the procedure, which says that political parties must form part of the adjudication committee that is going to do the certification of the register? Have you done that? Have you formed that committee? Ask them. Media should be asking them.
I see. So, I mean, when they bring the register, I mean, what do you want them to do really? To withdraw it and come again another time? Or what do you want them to do?
We want to have the statistics from them. We must know the statistics involved, because we have the provisional one, the last one they give us, and we know the statistics in it. They should give us the current one, the certified register statistics, and they must do the needful. They should let us know, the adjudication committee, they should let us know how did they adjudicate the process to get to the certified register. They must let us know.
I see. Thank you so much, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, Deputy Director Elections IT for the NDC, and we are there. So whatever the case, we will get to know, and listeners will bring you everything you need to know from that particular meeting of the Electoral Commission. Now let's speak to Ivan Slimako, who is Director of Elections of the MPP. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. The final certified register is being given to you. Is that correct?
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, today we were invited by the Electoral Commission for a meeting. We were told that the essence of this meeting was for the EC to hand over to political parties. And this is in line with the CI 91 as amended 126, referencing Regulation 27.4. 27 talks about certified register, and the 4 says that when that has been done, when the register has been certified, the EC will give it to political parties and any other interested party they deem so in a form they determine. And if you quite remember, we had met in October 1, where there were issues raised by the NDC about the fitness of the register. We went through that. We met again on the 15th of October at the same venue, Alisa, and the EC at that point handed over to us the revised version of the provisional register, and gave parties assurance that by the first week of November they will make available the final certified register. And so that's the sense of what we are going through today. After the submission, NDC had a concern that we needed to be given the breakdown of the voters as per region, constituency, and that's all. And if you quite remember, when the EC started the printing of the ballot, they issued out to political parties the ballot statistics based on the number of registered voters per polling station. And here you are dealing with 40,648 polling stations across the 276 constituencies. At the last meeting, which was the 15th of October, the EC gave us a figure of 18,772,251 as registered voters. The understanding we had then was that it was still a provisional register, but then the EC provided for political parties a platform to submit concerns. And today we're told that there were about 581 concerns, 517 or so concerns from other interested parties, but not from political parties, and those corrections have been done. It is therefore deemed that this final register, certified register, will not have in it any challenge. And so for me, for us as New Patriotic Party, we'll go with this register. Just suppose it on the revised version that we're given on the 15th and see how it plays out. The summary that has been requested for, we could do it on our own. It's also not bad. It doesn't hurt if the EC provide for us. So we are waiting to have that summary provided to us by the EC, and that will mean that the total number of registered voters, the voters in all the categories, as in those on the transfer list, policy list, those on special voters list, and all that stuff. So that's what we are waiting for.
So what's the practice really? I mean, we've had elections over and over again. Is it not the case that before the final register is given, there's a breakdown of voters in regions, etc., to give a snapshot of what the voters register contains? Is that not what is been done every time? And if that's the case, why should it be different this time?
No, I mean, when you are giving the certified register, it is the certified register. Unless when you open the file and say the form that the EC will determine, unless when you open, you don't have those things there. I think that if you look at the revised version, it didn't have some, but after every constituency, those things are there. But in order that you compare what we've been giving by the EC with what you get, you will want to see whether there will be any discrepancy. I think that this is really appreciate IT infrastructure and its usage. This really shouldn't have been any problem. But we still wait, let the EC come to us and say, the file is giving you, these are the actual summaries. We're waiting for it.
So the EC has been doing this for many years, and given the credibility and trust issues that we are all dealing with, you don't think it was appropriate for the EC, as it's done in the past, to say, okay, this is the breakdown, so that the media covers it, everybody covers it, so that it will not be Evans Nimako telling us what he has seen in theirs and Tanko also telling us what he has seen in its copy. The media would have recorded from the venue the EC boss reading out the breakdown or the stats to everybody, so that when you go back to your offices and there are discrepancies, we all know what the base is and what to compare to what is. It shouldn't that have been the practice?
No, so we are here. We are waiting for that breakdown from the EC.
So given that this is the certified one, when you take your final copy to your office and you go and see there are discrepancies, that doesn't mean that the door is shut. There's nothing you can do. This is what you're taking to the election. No matter how bad it is when you go and open it, you can't do anything about it. Is that the case?
Well, the issue is, if there's any challenge, you can't do anything about it. That's why it says that it is the final certified register, and it must be given to you by the EC, and it says that 21 days to the election day, unless you find it so challenging that you want to use other platform to challenge. But the practice is that the final register is the final register. And my brother, I think that we shouldn't be too worried about this narrative. The EC already is in print. Based on the numbers we have per polling station, it's printing ballot papers for each polling station. So without a certain number, that couldn't have been done. And a New Patriotic Party, we are so focused that the issues will be labor, not issues like this. And so we will leave the NDC to put up whatever challenge they have. That is their own cup of tea. We have been given a copy of the certified register. We're saying that we know that comes from the CI 91 as amended 126 Regulation 27(4). You look at it and you can appreciate it better.
Very well. Thank you so much, Evans Nimako. Only that I thought that given that people brought problems, if those problems have been resolved, the people should have seen it to be sure that the problems I brought have been resolved before the final version is given. I thought that was just what some people are expecting. But thank you so much for speaking to us. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll take a short break, and City Business News will be up next.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Wednesday edition of the City Business News and Eyewitness News. I am Akusia Oche. Details of our stories now, and let's take you to the U.S. with Donald Trump winning the tightly contested presidential election against Vice President Kamala Harris. Developing economies like Ghana are accessing the potential impact of his administration's approach to foreign policy and trade. Well, Trump's America First agenda shaped much of his previous term, but his return is a signal or a shift in the dynamics of U.S.-Africa relations. And does it influence Ghana's economic trajectory? There's more in this report.
Both the outgoing and incoming U.S. administrations have acknowledged Africa's strategic importance, not only as a recipient of substantial U.S. aid, but also as a continent rich in valuable resources which cut across minerals to energy. The U.S. remains Africa's largest donor, although China has rapidly expanded its influence, becoming Africa's largest trading partner. In the first half of 2024, bilateral trade between China and Africa exceeded $166 billion, highlighting the competitive landscape for influence in Africa. During his first term, Donald Trump introduced the Prosper Africa initiative, which aimed to deepen trade and investment ties between the U.S. and African nations while countering China's Belt and Road Initiative with support from U.S. government agencies. Prosper Africa sought to provide American investors with market insights, deal support, and financing to spur economic growth in Africa and meet the rising demand for a growing middle class. However, Donald Trump's return to the White House may raise concerns among African nations about his stance on trade protections, as he previously championed policies that prioritize American interests. A critical decision facing the Trump administration will also be the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, which is set to expire in 2025. AGOA has enabled African countries, including Ghana, to export certain goods to the U.S. without facing tariffs. Many African leaders view AGOA's renewal as essential for supporting local industries and fostering economic growth. Ghana and other African economies could feel the effect of Trump's protectionist policies, which might make U.S. trade less accessible to developing nations while steering foreign investment back into the USA. Though the Prosper initiative could help deepen Ghanaian businesses, Trump's protectionist approach and America First policy may cast uncertainty over future U.S.-Africa trade relations, especially as nations grapple with the competing interests of China and the USA.
That was a report filed by Nashika Caesar of the City Business Desk. But the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, says it does not expect business interest to be affected by the election of Donald Trump.
We continue to do our business the best way that we know. Once we are not going against the norms of that country. It's all about doing the right things and then getting the right attractions for yourself, and also knowing what is to your advantage. You seek and exploit that, because the candidature of Trump or otherwise is not going to bring any difference when it comes to trading.
That was President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Now, members of the Locked Up Investment Holders Forum are urging the Finance Ministry to take immediate steps to release their funds trapped in defunct institutions. Well, this appeal follows the ministry's request for the Bank of Ghana to compile a list of all distressed financial institutions to assess the total inaccessible funds. A convener of the forum, Dr. Edwanani Entry, has been speaking to City Business News.
We would rather come here and find out what the ministry action is going to be after they have received this response. The response that they say they are waiting for before they can take a decision. So we have written to the minister last Monday, but unfortunately we didn't get anybody to meet us. But at least we have been able to trace the letter and so I have seen the letter has been properly delivered, has been actually delivered, and it is now going to be sent to the financial sector division for them to review, study, and advise the minister what to do. So we believe.
was Dr. Edu Anane Entry, the convener of the Locked Up Investment Holders Forum. Now, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, has significantly boosted its financial support for the agriculture sector, increasing funding from 453 million cedis in 2016 to over 1.4 billion cedis by the end of October 2024. All this impressive growth underscores ADB's ongoing commitment to driving productivity. While speaking at the 15th National Farmers Forum ahead of the Farmers' Day celebrations, General Manager in charge of agribusiness at ADB, Kwame Isiedu-Atrams, assured of the bank's continued partnership with the government in fostering food security through sustainable agricultural practices.
The bank has, in the last 8 years, strengthened its resolve to maintain its fidelity to its founding mandate by increasing funding to the agricultural sector. The bank's investment in agriculture has seen a steady growth, with a total agricultural loan stock increasing from 453.2 million in 2016 to 101.41 billion as of October 2024. This figure excludes the non-funded facilities such as letters of credit and guarantees granted for the purchase of agricultural inputs, machinery.
General Manager in charge of agribusiness at the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, Kwame Isiedu-Atrams, wrapping up the Wednesday edition of the City Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Akosia Orchidu. Stay with us. Up next is Point Blank.
Welcome back to Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Tonight on Point Blank, we take a trip to the United States of America, where Donald Trump today won to become the 47th president-elect of the United States of America. So we join our partners in the US, the VOA. Ken Farabo is a Mid-Eastern reporter with the VOA in the United States of America. Just to understand how things are panning out there and what the discussion has been the whole day. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Hello, Kane.
Yeah, hi, this is Kane. How are you?
Very good. How are you two?
Well, it is, it is just about midday in the Midwest United States, and obviously everyone's trying to sort of take in the results of yesterday's election. I was in the state of Wisconsin, here in Madison, Wisconsin, which is one of the battleground states, and obviously this is one of the states that former President Trump won, which helped propel him to the White House.
So the polls said that things were going to be very close, the election was going to be very close, but it doesn't appear so, looking at the results. What went wrong for Kamala Harris?
Well, actually, Kamala Harris underperformed Joe Biden from Joe Biden's 2020 results. I mean, it looks like broadly across the entire country, about 15 million less people voted for Kamala Harris than they did for Joe Biden in 2020. Also, I mean, on the other end of that coin is the fact that about 5 million less people voted for Donald Trump than they did in 2020. But Donald Trump not only has managed to secure an electoral college victory, he has also secured a popular vote victory, it looks like right now. I mean, there are still votes being tabulated in Arizona, Nevada. Michigan is still not quite there, and neither is the state of Maine. So I think that, the final tally has, yet to be tallied and remains to be seen. But I think some of the problems and difficulties here are the inflation, table issues to common Americans, everyday Americans, are the things that voters trust Donald Trump with more than Kamala Harris. Inflation is a problem that concerns everybody across the board, regardless of demographic, and that seems to be the major issue that motivated them in how they voted.
What would you say to people who think that gender and race played a role in this election?
Well, gender issues played a role in this election. Kamala Harris and Democrats tried to frame this as a referendum on reproductive rights, which have been rolled back since the conservative Supreme Court Justice majority in the Supreme Court turned back the famous Roe versus Wade ruling. So that was made an issue on the campaign trail, but also because Kamala Harris is a woman, that also seems to have played some role. I think it has less to do with that, though, and more to do with the Democrats' messaging. This was more a referendum on them running against Donald Trump rather than them running for ideas. And I think because people have been struggling economically in many parts of the country, they saw Kamala Harris's campaign as an extension of Biden's campaign. So I think that's really where it boils down to. Interesting to note, we should point out, it appears right now from exit polling as well as the metrics that everybody follows on these elections, Kamala Harris actually received less votes from women than Joe Biden did in 2020. That's also true for Latino votes, Hispanic votes. That's also true for the African-American vote in the country. So she underperformed in almost every demographic than Joe Biden did in 2020.
So, I mean, so you talked about the messaging. So whilst Trump and co were focusing on the economy and inflation and all of that, she appeared to be fixated with the issue about freedom and abortion, etc. Is the economy that bad that she couldn't do anything about it, as in focusing partly on it, or she just didn't have a message? And would you say that her short time of campaigning is also to blame for how abysmally she has performed?
Yes, I think that there's going to be a real evaluation on the part of Democrats in the wake of this election as to what went wrong. And I think that Democrats and perhaps the people inside Kamala Harris's campaign may point the finger at Joe Biden himself being responsible for this loss. The fact that she wasn't chosen through the process of primary elections and going state to state to pick that candidate, that was Joe Biden, seems to have affected her ability to generate, I guess, support from a broad coalition of voters outside the Democratic Party. That definitely seems to have played a role here, but also the fact that, she didn't have as much time as Trump has had in order to campaign. Her campaign lasted, I think, less than 180 days. Donald Trump's been campaigning for 2 years. So, they did try to introduce her to the electorate through the Democratic National Convention and for, really 2 or 3 months of campaigning in the big battleground states. But it wasn't enough, clearly, and the fact that she didn't have the time and the exposure that she would have had if she would have gotten to this process through the primary election season seems to be a factor, but will remain. I guess we'll have to see how the Democrats view that when they do a post-mortem on this election.
I see. And when is she speaking to her supporters and the country?
She'll be speaking later today, I think sometime perhaps around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's also, I've read that she is expected or will speak to Donald Trump to concede before she winds up having that. I see right now the Associated Press has confirmed that Kamala Harris has called President-elect Donald Trump, and she congratulated him on his election victory. So the Associated Press is reporting that she has already made that phone call to President-elect Trump now. So, obviously now it's her opportunity to speak to her supporters as well as the American people and discuss how she's sort of feeling the day after this, resounding defeat.
We understand the Republicans have taken over the Senate. What can you say about the Senate and the Congress?
Well, that will provide unified government for the Republicans, at least in some aspect, when Donald Trump takes the White House in January after Inauguration Day. That means that Republicans will hold about 2 or 3 seats in the Senate. Right now, though, there are still some very close races across the country in the U.S. House of Representatives. Those races aren't finished yet, and it looks like there might be a very narrow split. And Republicans are optimistic they'll be able to hold the House, but it looks like Republicans have picked up, I think, at least 2 or 3 seats from previously held Democratic seats. The Democrats have also picked up 3 seats, some of them in New York. So right now it's really a wait-and-see approach as to how the election results for the House will fall and whether or not Republicans will also control that chamber too.
So, let's talk about Trump now. How different will he be as the 47th president, from what we saw of him as the 45th?
The president is the leader of the country and the leader of the government and the leader of his administration, so he will be able to shape the policy through the people that he appoints to lead the agencies as well as his agenda. But it takes laws and government and lawmakers to enact legislation, and in order to do that, you have to have the cooperation of the lawmakers in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. We should also point out, too, the Republicans do not have a supermajority in any of these branches of government, and so, there is going to be the need for there to be bipartisan cooperation on budget deals, also on extending the debt limit, defense spending. Things like this are going to require the cooperation of all lawmakers. But the Republicans need less of that cooperation in order to get things pushed through. But I would only be speculating if I was to say what a second Trump administration would look like. We don't even know who he's going to appoint to lead the cabinet agencies and what that might look like. But and we also don't know how much of what he has said in rhetoric on the campaign trail translates into reality once he's in the White House.
How about J.D. Vance? What kind of a person is he, and what does it bring to the table?
He is a very young vice president. He's a relatively new and almost unknown senator from Ohio. I mean, he did write a book about his life growing up in Appalachia and in rural Ohio and Kentucky. And it's an interesting book, which was turned into a movie in which I believe Glenn Close starred as his mother. The actress Glenn Close starred as his mother in the film. So, I mean, people do know if they've read his book or have seen the movie, they have an idea, at least, about his background and his understanding of issues that affect Americans. But again, too, he's a young vice president. He is a newer member of the Republican part of the government. So, he will be able to sort of frame, I guess, his identity as well as his experience and his political docket by what he's now as vice president. But his rise from he hadn't even completed the first term of being a senator in Ohio, so his ability to go from that to the vice presidency in a short period of time is remarkable. But he is the vice president-elect of the United States, and he will also have a role to play in the administration to come.
So Trump has a number of court cases, some awaiting sentencing, etc. We understand on the 26th of November he's due for sentencing. Now that he's been elected president, I mean, what happens to all of that?
It is unknown how that is going to transpire and what the outcome will be. He will have immense influence in being able to undo the things that have been tried against him while president. It's possible. There are many scenarios that can happen, but all of it is a wait-and-see approach as to how this is all going to play out. It's never happened before in American history. We've never had somebody convicted of a crime elected to the presidency. So all of this is sort of new, and it remains to be seen how it kind of all unfolds.
I see. So what's the general mood in America now? Is it one of excitement? Obviously, the two camps will have different moods. But what was the general mood of the country? Are people excited, anticipating better times, or people don't really care? What's the mood there right now?
I would say the mood is mixed. Republicans are ecstatic with the results because this far exceeded any expectation they had for the outcome of the election. I would say that America's polarized, America's divided, and there are a lot of people whose candidate didn't win that are hurting and upset. And I think because of the manner in which this campaign was conducted, there are a lot of people that are fearful for what the future holds and what this means for American democracy and what this means for the government. But, how much rhetoric on the campaign trail translates into reality in the White House and in the U.S. government is something that remains to be seen. We do know from the last time Donald Trump was president, much of what he promised and much of what he expected to do wasn't able to be accomplished because he needed to have the cooperation of the government to do it. And again, that's why we have the government and the form of government we have here in the United States. There are checks and balances inherent in the system. And so, it remains to be seen how this is all going to play out. But, I think there are people on both sides here who have reservations, and I think that there's a tremendous level of excitement on one side, a tremendous level of fear on the other. But the president of the United States is the president of all of them, and I think that's a message that people might need to hear.
All right. Thank you so much, Kane Farabo, Midwestern reporter for the VOA, our partners for this American election. He's been speaking to us, as you just heard, on the just ended American elections. Donald Trump is president-elect. We understand Kamala Harris will be speaking to the nation of America and obviously her supporters soon. And as you just heard, she has placed that important call to Donald Trump, congratulating him for winning the election. This is how we conclude today's edition of Point Blank and Eyewitness News. Show produced by Nana Kobna Wilson, Samiri Afe, and Beverly London. Technical support has been provided by Thomas Obin Daku. Earlier you heard Akosia Ochri. My name is Salom Adunu.